You need to build your network when you have the job and don't forget about those folks. So we sort of need to make that mindset transition of you need to be always building your network, not just when an emergency.
You can stop complaining and go do the thing that you're uncomfortable with, that you don't want to do, but you know is going to make a difference. The world has shown that that's the best way to get jobs. And we know it's hard. We know it's not the easy apply button on LinkedIn. We know it's not that. And Bob and I aren't saying that we like it or that we're good at it, but daggone it, like we're going to do it. And so you can and should do the same thing.
Entry music. Da, 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 da. It's the Bob and Josh show.
Over the past couple of days, I've been thinking about a few things. Bob and I like to help people. And the most common thing that we're helping people with today, unfortunately, is I lost my job. How do I navigate this? Bob, Josh, what can I do? Who do you know? What's going on? And it hit me as I was just thinking about how I help folks and just in my own business of how I build a pipeline is that we have become so hyper dependent on LinkedIn as the way for you to create a network and find a job. And that has become so insanely noisy that we have almost a generation of workers who have never had to go network the old-fashioned way. And before the internet, Bob was making fun of me because was I alive before the internet? Yes, I was. Yes, I got a job without the internet. But not too long after that, it became a thing. And I talked about how it used to be the only way you got a job was if you knew somebody that had an opening and there was a connection. And as I've been talking to people, everybody out there feels like that's the only way you get a job because you go to LinkedIn. And if you haven't seen the stat, they are now processing 11,000 job applications per minute. So just the sheer volume there is overwhelming. And everybody's like, hey, do I know somebody? Josh and Bob know people. There's other people that know people. So people reach out to us, and it does feel like it's gone back to the way it was 30 years ago, where the most effective way for you to find a job, to land a job, forget finding a job, landing a job was you had to know somebody that would recommend you and connect you with a hiring manager and do all of that stuff. So that's a skill that we've not needed because we had all these fancy, wonderful tools, but now they've become so big and bloated that now it's just a ton of noise. So Bob and I were talking about all the challenges, and we have, of course, crazy ideas on how to solve the problem. But that's the thing that we want to talk about and hopefully help everybody out there that is in a situation where they've been laid off, company's struggling, or they're unhappy in their job, and they're just scared to even try to find a job. So that's what today's episode is. It's not necessarily on the leadership track, but it's, Bob and I want to make a difference. So we're going to talk about things that we're passionate about. And here we are.
I mean, I think Metacasters, as Josh was talking about this, I was thinking about, like in my history, so decades ago, it was paper resumes, and you would print them out, and you would literally put them in an envelope, address them to a company. If you saw something posted, I would actually look at newspapers, Josh. This is horrible thinking about this. But I would look in newspapers, want ads, and in some online stuff emerged, but it was all paper, mostly paper or email, early email. And I would address envelopes. Sometimes I remember having like 50 to 75. I'd have a box I'd schlep to the post office, and I'd mail all these things. And literally, you had no way of tracking, and so the only acknowledgement you have if someone would follow up with you, and it was always phone calls. It was you might have email, but it was usually a phone call. And the point is, it was incredibly ineffective. That was the one thing. It was incredibly ineffective. Josh and I were talking. My first two jobs after university, after college, I got that way, and then every job after that was done via networking. And so now, if you fast forward to today, I think people are doing the same thing with electronic media. They're responding in LinkedIn. They're going through AI to apply for jobs. It's actually malicious. Someone, Josh, was telling me the other day, age discrimination is coming into play.
Hmm.
So some of the bots were asking for real age specific. I think it's illegal, but they were doing it anyway. And she was concerned that it was doing age discrimination. She asked, and I'm like, yeah, I've experienced that. It's not uncommon for that. So now you have it's not just the number of people who are applying, it's discrimination based on certifications or based on diversity or based on age. It allows for all of this filtering stuff. And all I'm saying is that side of things, that's our default way of looking for jobs. And guess what, Metacasters? It's ineffective. It's always been ineffective. It was ineffective with paper.
Hmm.
It's ineffective today, but people don't have an alternative. Now, it's sort of effective if you have a really hot job market. If it's a seller's market,
Right.
then, and I think that's part of what's going on with people. We got spoiled. So people were doing the LinkedIn reply, and there wasn't a lot of respondents, and they were getting work that way. So that was a seller's market. We are no longer in a seller's market. We're in an employer's market. We are severely in an employer's market with an economic downturn in tech. And now folks don't have an alternative way of going through that, and they're getting beaten down because it's so depressing to just be throwing things into a pipeline
Hmm.
and then getting ghosted, et cetera, et cetera. Any reactions, Josh?
Yeah, just as Bob mentioned too, that in my career, there's been, and I think I've had more jobs, more different companies I worked for than Bob. Um, Four of my jobs, the first two, and then two times when I moved, a significant difference were just I had to do the hard work and find a way for people to know I existed and get them to like my resume and respond and do all that stuff. And then the rest were all through a referral, either a referral of somebody that knew me directly, put me in contact with somebody, or because of my brand and something that I put out there. And that holds true for not only my jobs where I was an FTE working for a company, but also for every customer that I've ever had for my business, my consulting business. Every customer for my consulting business has come from a brand piece of content that I created, or somebody knew me, recommended me, something like that. So, and it just made me realize as I was thinking about how I help these folks that are out there that nothing's really changed. To Bob's point, it was paper back then, it's LinkedIn now, and there were all these like, how do I format it? What do I do? Bob joked about back in the day, do I use a different color paper? So my resume physically stands out in the stack of papers that are on this person's desk. And all of that still happens. There's all of that how do I stand out? But the most effective way is a network and connecting with people and a recommendation, and all of the automation, be it LinkedIn and or AI that sits on top of it now, has reduced the need for that human skill. Bob and I talked about the human intelligence last episode. And so this is one of those things where the human ability to go to a physical space, meet with people, create connections, and that is going to be a thing that gets you a job. That's something that Bob and I talked about. It's like, we didn't need that. And because we were in a position where jobs were aplenty, we could take the lazy way out, and we got it easy. I could just apply. People like, yes, we need you. Can please, like, we need butts and seats. Come and work here. And unfortunately, the world we're in today doesn't line up with that. So wanted to talk through and hopefully help some people out with like, I've never done that. Like, what do I do? Are there places I should go? Like, is there an online place I can go to find like a networking event or something like that? So try to figure out how we help folks that are in this very difficult position. So that's where we're at. That's what we're trying to do.
How do you build your network?
Yeah.
This is data, and anyone do a Google or an AI sort of conversation, but I think this is going to hold true and ring true. And from the paper, so for decades I've heard that the best way to get a job is not submitting resumes, it's networking, it's connections, and to the point of 80%. Something like 80, in my mind, 70 to 80% is the figure of all acquired jobs are through networking, not through paper. So that's I think it's even a little bit higher, but let's say 80%. So 8 out of 10 jobs that are acquired are not through the are not through the only tool that you're using right now. They're through the thing that Josh and we were talking about. Most people are very unskilled in the networking side or unprepared. They haven't developed it. And so of course they're having trouble. So how do you develop the network so that you can find that 80% of hit rate? And it's Josh said in person. It's also online, meetup groups. It's also building your brand. So we can explore some of those things of how to do that. But the overriding message, folks, is of course you're not finding work. You're missing 80% of the pipeline. Now, the bad news is it takes time to develop your network. It's not a snap your fingers thing. But if you're do it, start today. So the minute you're listening to this episode, take some of our ideas and start doing it. I want no excuses. Oh, that's hard, or no, or I don't have the time. I'm sending too many pieces of paper. No, right. You have the time. So start immediately. LinkedIn is a place to start doing that as well. So Josh, what would be your, like, one of your favorite, you were talking about events. Why don't you explore that?
Well, there's events that are out there. Bob and I have talked about, do we need to find a way to bring those back? Those are things that I've hosted at companies that I've been running. Bob has hosted at companies that he's been running. I admittedly borrowed / stole it from Bob, but trying to be a connection point for people. So there are things that are out there, and yes, there's places to go. It's not easy. And Bob and I are introverts, whether you believe it or not. You put us in a group of people and we're not entirely comfortable, but that's something that we've invested in. And so I didn't know how to do that. So like, there's books out there for those of you that want to learn. And this is something that I bought because I'm like, damn it, like I got to get better at networking. Like I knew that's something, especially as I was growing my own business, that like I just have to get better at. And as I started to evaluate my career path, and I started to realize, it really validated the number that Bob threw out. At least 80% of the jobs that I've had, either working for a company or customers, have come through the network that I've built. And so I know I'm not good enough at it. I am not saying I have all the answers. I'm telling you, I'm not great at it. It's something that's a weakness of mine that I'm trying to get better at. And as I look at as I look at my own life, I've got a 21-year-old daughter and a 19-year-old son and a 16-year-old son. And I'm looking around like, oh, okay, you're not a great networker. How do you make sure they are? What are the things that you need to do? Are there things that I should be modeling for them, or so that I can be a connector for them, so that as they finish school and go into the market, that they have a leg up, that they have a capability that I don't have. So one of the things that historically I was not good at was all the in-person, like Bob has run dozens or hundreds of in-person events here in the Raleigh area. And I've been to like 2 of them. And Bob has invited me to basically every one. And I've shown up to, I think, 2. And I'm just bad at it. But I look back and like, I've got to get freaking better at that. Like, that's something that I've got to do. And I don't have any magic tricks here, because I'm telling you, I'm not good at it. But I know the little bit that I've done has made a difference. So I've talked about Bob. Do we start hosting things? What do we do? Do we reach out to the co-working space and the recruiting friends that I have? And like, we just need to get people helping each other out. So I don't have an answer. I just know like there's stuff that works, and we got to find a way to help some people out.
So I have one tool suggestion, Metacasters and Josh, and you can think of other ones. So one is, if you've been laid off as part of a group, and a lot of people nowadays in the Agile community are getting laid off as part of a group. I was just talking to a coach the other day that got laid off from a local financial firm, and it wasn't just him; it was a group of coaches. And he did something I didn't suggest it. He did something that I thought was great. He took the initiative to set up a networking Zoom with all of those people. I think there's like 15 people that were laid off. He makes it available twice a week, and they have a support group, and they talk about resume preparation. They talk about sharing companies that they think might be hiring, target companies that you can target. They talk about how to break through, networking issues like filtering, how to handle age discrimination. They're a morale building group. They try to support each other, and it's all about building their network. I talked to him the other day. He's now starting to run some not meetups, but create his own website to do his own brand. And so, independent of that social group, he's now starting to talk about himself. Uh, Again, he's still streaming resumes, but he's like, how do I build my brand? And we talked about that. And he's creating a website, creating a brand, and starting to schedule like monthly meetings. So he gets his name out there. He's creating some buzz. He's inviting those people in that networking group to promote him, not only to come to it, but to promote him, and he promotes them. The other thing I reminded him is it's not just don't be takers, but be givers. So in those support groups, it's not every person has a responsibility to take things away, but you also have the responsibility to give to each other, to help each other. And that's the mindset for it, and it creates some momentum from that. So that's a discrete idea. If you were laid off, even if you were laid off 6 months ago, go gather those folks. I was talking to another coach who was laid off, and it broke my heart. He didn't have the contact information. Just yesterday, I was talking to a coach, and I was talking about this idea and gathering people in his company, and he didn't have their contact information. The poor guy was like, "Oh, they shut all of our emails and services down."
Mm.
And I'm like, "Well, reach out." He's like, "I don't know if I have their contact information." And I was like, "Well, go scrounge to get it, whatever you have to do, and start building that." But I sort of chastised him. I'm like, why didn't you think about building that? I know you had a job, but you need to build your network when you have the job, right? And don't forget about those folks. So we sort of need to make that mindset transition of you need to be always building your network,
Yeah.
not just when an emergency. Josh and I've had this talk. Any reactions to that, Josh, or any other ideas for tactics?
No, I think that last point is perfect because that's what I'm guilty of is I was guilty of, oh, I'm too busy. Bob, I can't make it to your morning breakfasts where you're hosting all of these agile leaders and I have too much going on. And that was an excuse, right? Bob said there's no excuses. That was the excuse I told myself. That's how I told myself that it was okay. And then something bad would happen and I would reach out to Bob or, whatever. Hey, Bob, what do I do? And Bob's probably like, well, dummy, if you would have been there, if you would have showed up and done the things, you might have extra connections besides me or whatever, So I think that's the take home for everybody, regardless of what situation you're in right now. Please work on growing your network. And it is not free. It is not easy. And I don't believe adding connections on LinkedIn counts as growing your network. I just have found very little value in LinkedIn over the past couple of years. To Bob's point, I still, apply to fractional jobs that are open to grow my business. I still post on there. I still do all that. But I tell you what, there's times when I just question, am I getting a return for the investment that I'm putting on here? But then this is how I landed here. I started to look around well, what else do I do? This is what the job search has become in 2025 post COVID, where in-person meetups kind of went poof. They went away. And so then LinkedIn became the way and there was this job boom. And so it was easy where you could submit yourself to an opening and nobody applied. Whereas now, like I look for executive roles, things like that, where not everybody can apply. But I look and there have been 2,000 people have applied and 250 people have applied today. So there are multiple times where I'm like, why would I even click the button? Why would I even hit the apply? Like how sure it's cheap and easy, but like I feel like I'm just like wishing on a star at that point.
Yeah, but I want to step in though. LinkedIn, don't think of LinkedIn as job recruiting only, Metacasters. So you now have connections and you start building your connections on LinkedIn. I've been doing it for a long time.
Mhm.
Uh, but you have to grow your network that way. So what does growing look like? Like other people's stuff. I cross share Josh's stuff.
Mhm.
I like Josh's stuff. I like other people's stuff. If Josh goes green and he has one of those green banners and I repost it or other people. So this is what I mean by being proactive. LinkedIn is a platform to get your name out there. And someone might say, "Oh, Bob Galen reposted Josh Anderson's thing. Who's Bob Galen?" And they connect to it. You can't. So it's part of this giving and taking. It's we're responding. Take an hour every day and look at other people's posts. Maybe post your things. Josh 5 years ago was on LinkedIn, but he was a waste. He was an island, and no one knew he was doing things.
Thanks, Bob.
Nowadays, he's been writing.
Yeah.
He's been writing and posting on LinkedIn, and now his network is building, and his brand is building, and the awareness of who Josh is and what he does is expanding on LinkedIn, amongst other places. And so it is this, it's a job search avenue, but it's a networking platform. But you got to be active and you can't just be selfish, and you got to be in it for the long term. You got to be patient. You got to be in it for the long term.
My where I start to second guess and question, and I still do it, right? Like I have not gotten to the point where I have questioned so much that I don't do it, is that there is so much content on LinkedIn now because AI has enabled everybody to create good content. I've been down this path. I am guilty as charged. I have used AI to post stuff on LinkedIn. Yes, I admit it. And I've done it to where now I can recognize when it's an AI generated post. I can look at a post and know instantly you didn't write that. And so now it's all of this noise. And so it's similar to all of the submissions, the 11,000 per minute that get applied to through LinkedIn. Not I think. What Bob and I have said is that it's got to be a yes and. Yes, keep doing things there because that's where not only everybody's talking, but that's where everybody's listening, which makes it very noisy, very hard to figure out how you stand out within the crowd. But what I'm pushing for, what I'm believing, what I'm actively going to do is I am going to drastically ramp up my real world networking, my real world connection with people and increasing that, both with people that I know and the really uncomfortable thing of people that I don't know, right? Like there are people I can call and I can have lunch with people that are movers and shakers in the industry and do all that stuff. That's easy. That I should be doing anyways. What I have to get better at is putting myself in rooms where I don't know anybody and using things that I learn from books like this or from friends that I have that I know are way better at that and just getting better at growing my real world network where like I've talked to somebody because you post to LinkedIn and people there are like yes I'm going to like it and then there's like a courtesy like where people just kind of hit a like because it's a thing versus Bob where like I know Bob does it with intention. Like I know Bob is trying to make a difference when he likes and reposts everything that I do, and that means the world to me because I know people know Bob and people know me because of Bob. So like there's real value within that, but it's got to be a yes and. So the point I'm trying to make that I hope people walk away from is that just as Bob said, don't stop doing the LinkedIn thing. But I think what's really going to work is the real world, the human intelligence, the human interaction, the connecting with other humans physically. I think that's going to get you a job faster than posting your job 1,000 times to LinkedIn.
Well, let me use two LinkedIn examples of human to human again as a platform. So it is almost on a day to every other day basis that someone that I'm connected to will reach out to me and say, Bob, do you know Harry? Harry, you're connected to Harry. Harry works at IBM, and Harry is posting, IBM's posting a job, and it looks like it might be in Harry's purview. And could you be an introduction of me to Harry? And if I know Harry, I'll say, if I've kept Harry warm in some way, maybe he's attended a class, or I remember him, or I know he would remember me, then I'll say yes, and I'll forward or I'll do something to connect those two together. I'll try to serve, if I know the requester enough, I'll try to add some context to that introduction, and I'll make that introduction, and then it's up to them to follow it through. That happens a lot. Sometimes I say no. I don't know Harry well enough that it would actually probably have a negative result. It would be like a weird Bob
Right.
Galen referring. So I'll just say simply no. But what you can do is you can use me. You can reach out to them on your own on a cold call basis, and you should do this. Dan. This to me, Metacasters, is networking using LinkedIn connection, the web of LinkedIn connections. Again, it's cold. It may be fairly cold, but use it. Go in there, use my name in vain, right, with respect, and try to make a connection there. Um, and and so that's one. That's one. So that's using it. Now you have to do some work there. You have to search companies. You have to look at my connections versus companies versus open positions and stuff. But that is so much better than just cold sending something in. Second story is I run a moose herd. Moose herd is a twice a week virtual lean coffee. Come as you want. I started it during early COVID, or the early days of COVID, around 2019-20. I was lonely, and I started up this group, and it's still going on 4 or 5 years later. It's people, whoever wants to come comes. It has a Slack channel. There's maybe 1,000 people in the Slack channel. Attendance is maybe 30 people. Wednesdays maybe 10 people or less. Fridays maybe 20 people. So Fridays are more well attended. There's one guy who's a pretty regular attendee. We'll call him Jake. And Jake reached out to me one, and I've run into Jake. I've listened to him. I've disagreed with him. I'm like, Jake, you don't know what you talk about. Jake's been a regular participant, but I've gotten a sense for Jake's got his act together. Jake is a scrum master, and I'm like, I respect Jake. And he reached out to me and he said, Bob, I'd like to apply to an internal job role for an agile coach. And he said, I tried to submit to the hiring manager, and they rejected me, that I didn't have enough experience. And could you send, he gave me their LinkedIn profile or their name. He said, could you send them a note recommending me? And I'm like, do I know enough about, Jake to feel comfortable doing it,
Right.
and to do something that would make a difference? And I'm like, I really do. Right. I've been listening to Jake for a year and a half.
Yeah.
So I sent something to the manager. They actually invited him in for an interview. Now he didn't get the job. Again, skills come into play, but he went further than he ever would have. And
Yeah.
he just asked me out of the blue. He asked me out of the blue. I did it. I was a little shocked that it actually opened the door for, like, who's Bob Galen? I don't know if I'm going to make a change, but apparently they knew of me, etc. They respected my role. Again, Metacasters, we're networking. We're not just blindly sending things in or not sending things in. Internal jobs, internal promotions, etc. I'm trying to give you some practical ideas. I could have said no. All right, go try something else.
Yeah. I want to provide a little validation for the first point that Bob had. I generally troll LinkedIn and a couple other job boards for interim and fractional CTO roles because that's effectively what my business is. And there aren't that many because not that many people are looking for that, or most of them are not posted to LinkedIn because they just know somebody that knows somebody that, oh, hey, you should have so and so come in and help. And that's how I've gotten a fair amount of my jobs. But I just keep looking because it's like cost is low, but I got to give it a shot. And so I sent a resume in for something last week, and I just followed up, and I messaged so I went in and found the company, and I looked at the people that were in the job, and I went to the people, and I found the CEO or founder, which one, and I messaged them, and I said, hey, I sent my info into your fractional role last week. I want to provide a little bit of extra context of why I think I'm a really good fit. Here's a couple bullet points, blah, 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 blah. And he replied and said, oh, hey, yeah, this is great. Let's chat. I don't know that would have happened if my resume was in the stack of resumes that showed up in his inbox from LinkedIn. So even just that little bit, I mean, that's not a ton of work, but even just that little bit opened a door that might be a future customer. And so it's that little thing of it's got to be, we have to do more than just easy apply. Whenever I see a job on LinkedIn and the easy apply button is there, I'm like, holy shit. Like, how many people are hitting the easy apply button? Because you really don't have to do anything. You often don't even have to answer any questions. You just hit a button, it validates your information, and you like, boom. And so now, like, you haven't really done any work. So that's one of those things where that's just like this. And I've talked to people on the other side of the table where they post a job and they get thousands of things coming in at them, thousands of resumes, thousands of people coming at them, and it's overwhelming. Like, how the hell do we wade through this? How do we find the person? So it's not a problem just on our end of trying to find a job. It's a problem on the other end. And now you look at AI and the capability to generate a resume based on a job posting and easily create that and apply that. So now people can look at something and say, like, yeah, I can make myself look like I'm a fit. And there was an article, I'll try and find the link, that talks about the biggest hurdle we have in the hiring space is people not being truthful. Everybody's telling everybody else they've done a little bit more or they know a little bit more because it's so easy to generate that. And so, like, yeah, we'll just worry about that. Maybe they'll figure it out during the hiring process, but I'll at least be one of the person that they reach out to. And so that is becoming a bit of a problem. So the problem is in all directions. And I feel like we've tried to automate away the challenge of networking. And when it all comes down to it, networking is still the thing that works. It was 80% effective 30, 40 years ago, and it's still the thing that's most effective today. We went through this big boom where it was easy to get a job, and so now things are going in the opposite direction, and a skill that we didn't need to count on might be more important than ever. And so that's what today's episode is really about.
I mean, I want to come back full circle to something Josh said early on, and he talked about human connection. He also mentioned that we're both introverts, and most technology folks are introverts. But you have to fight through that. I do think there's I'll use laziness, it's the wrong term, or a lackadaisical factor. It's so the problem is us to some degree that it's when I was doing paper, it was easy to shove paper in envelopes and send it in mail. It's easy to hit the buttons on LinkedIn. And then we snark about it. Oh, I never hear anything, ghosted, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but what are you doing alternatively? And the alternative is something that may be hard for you to do, but it's the more effective alternative, which is networking, social interaction, attending meetup groups, attending local conferences. The good news is there's a lot of virtual stuff going on. There's remote job opportunities. In our moose herd, there was a group of moose herders who formed a little company. One guy had some skill with dealing with state government, agile and state government. He needed a small team. He got bunch of folks, and they've been running for over a year, doing some consulting, Medicaid consulting for state government. Not something I want to do, but something that they're attracted and it's work to do. Again, it's human to human interaction can create opportunities. Hearsay. Did you hear about this? Or you can ring up something. If Josh attends a regular meeting, Josh is now my partner, right? If I can get off my butt and, oh, Josh is in New York. I wonder what Josh would think about the local New York market. I wonder if he would have ideas. I reach out to Josh. I talk to him. I show initiative. And it's the human side. Am I going to hit hurdles along? Of course. You're hitting hurdles the other way. But this is your 80. To me, it's the dual search strategy. You have the streaming the response side, which is going to get you maybe 10% of the market. And then you have the 90% social interaction, human to human side. Get off your butt and do it. I'm uncomfortable with it. I'm always uncomfortable with it. If you want to get out of unemployment, you have to get out of that, get out of that mode. Another best way to do it is going back to support groups. Don't go it alone. It's hard for me as an introvert to move things along, but if I have a small group of trusted partners, we can inspire each other.
Yeah, and that 10% and 90%, I think that is equal to effort required to do both, but also I think the return is equivalent to the effort that you put in. So it will take you very little to apply on LinkedIn. We're not suggesting you don't do that, but also we think you need to, not we think, but we know that you need to push through the fear, push through the discomfort, and go attend things. Bob has said it. I've said it. Neither of us are good at it. Neither of us like it.
Josh, real quickly.
Yeah.
Everyone, do an inventory of every person you've worked with. Right now, you're laid off. You're out of work. Go back every job you've ever had. Whoever you've worked with. Make a list. That's your network. That's your starting position. Every person, CEO, did you have a split a bourbon with him 5 years ago? That's a connection for you, right? Reach out to the CEO. Can I send you another bourbon if you have any information? Whatever, right? So, I don't have a network. No, you do have a network. You just have to get off your ass and activate it and articulate it. You have a network and you have to care and feed it. You have to grow your network, right? It's cold now. It's cold, but you have to warm that network up. So I don't want to hear that. You have a network. That's your starting point. You can use LinkedIn to connect to those folks. LinkedIn, that's my kernel. Now, what do I do to grow that? What do I do to activate that?
I am unable to move past the visual of splitting a bourbon. So I see two people sitting across from each other with a little shot glass and two straws coming out of that. And just like, I've been unable to get that out of my brain ever since you said that. And so maybe that's a thing people do. I don't know. Maybe.
No, it's maybe not something. Bond, thanks, Josh. Thanks. Rub my nose in it.
It's like, oh man, that's a weird thing. But hey, maybe I need to try that. Maybe Bob and I could split a bourbon. We can get a shot and we can get two straws and do that.
You know what I'm reacting to, Josh? Yeah. I hear this I hear a lot of whining when I'm talking to people about this. There's a lot of whining. Oh, it's too hard. Oh, I don't have it. I'm like, you're wrong. You have a network, right? Yeah. You can grow your network. It's just you're sort of get over that hump of whining about it or worrying about it. You need to activate it, create it and activate it.
Yeah. Listen, I whine to myself all the time, but I have to tell myself, shut up. Like, just stop. Like, you need to go do the thing. You can either complain about a thing and nothing's going to change, or you can stop complaining and go do the thing that you're uncomfortable with, that you don't want to do, but you know is going to make a difference. So we are out here. The world has shown that's the best way to get jobs. And we know it's hard. We know it's not the easy apply button on LinkedIn. We know it's not that. And Bob and I aren't saying that we like it or that we're good at it, but daggone it, like we're gonna do it. And so you can and should do the same thing.
We're going to put meetup groups. Everyone search meetup and look for local meetup groups and aligned, topically aligned meetup groups, and join them and attend them. We'll put a link when we post this into my moose herd. And that's a place even to come and vent sometimes and to get renewed energy, because job hunting is freaking tough. And so that's part of, I think I want to land this episode with that notion of a support group. Don't go it alone. Josh and I are a support group for each other. Mm-hmm. And we've historically been that way. We may not acknowledge that, but we've given each other energy when the going is hard for each one of us. You need to establish that kind of thing to keep your energy and your mojo going. So do that, and then start looking for events that you can attend. You need to just get out of your comfort zone. So look for the initial step after this Metacast is know that you've been on the minimization track. You need to get in the maximization track as well. The place where you'll get more results. And it's all about human to human. And start connecting with humans, whether you're good at it or not. And you'll get better over time. And you can connect with us. Mm-hmm. Right? You can start with us. I don't know. I'm about half human. Josh is a full human.
Let's not go overboard there.
You can connect with us.
Yeah. All right, Bob. Land it for us.
Are we done?
We
are.
What
do you think?
I think so.
All right. Everyone, from beautiful downtown Cary, North Carolina.
And for beautiful downtown Fuquay Arena, North Carolina.
Fuquay Arena. I'm Bob Galen.
And I'm Josh Anderson.
Shake
and bake.
Big. Take care, y'all.